Hello, first off, I would like to thank you all for coming today. I will be discussing the history of video games. Raise your hand if you've ever played a video game. Video games are very common today as a form of entertainment. They've been in society for many years. Beforehand, there were board games and such, but now there's video games. And you can now discuss with anybody you meet what's your favorite video game. What games have you played? There are even conventions for video games and tournaments. In 1940, Hugh Condon created this computer that would play a traditional game called NIM. The goal of that game was to be not to be the player that would pick up the last matchstick. The computer won around 90% of the time, whereas the players only won about 10%. In 1958, Willie Higginbotham created a tennis game on an oscilloscope, an analog computer for public demonstration. The predecessors of the games preceded some of the games such as Pong. John Kenney created a basic programming language which meant his students, since he was a college professor, meant that he was able to create a video game. Anyone could create a video game. And this made it so if you understood the language, you could create a game, which meant many more games would come out, versus a select few that understood. In 1971, a very common game that many of you may have played is called Oregon Trail. It was released for public to play, and a lot of people still today play it rather in their history classes to learn about the Oregon Trail, or if you're just bored one day and they're like, I'm going to try this game out. It teaches you about the history of the Oregon Trail and see what kind of struggles they went through themselves. In 1974, 2 decades before the game Doom, the first ever person shooter came out, called Maze Wars. This game was a way for people to see through the eyes of the character and they would have to be able to go through this maze and be able to defeat the characters throughout the levels. In 1975, Atari released a home version of Pong. Beforehand, you could only really play Pong in an arcade, and there was actually an arcade in, I believe it was California, where it was completely broke. You couldn't play it at all because the machine was so stuffed with quarters that it just jammed the machine completely. In 1975, William Crowther introduced a text-based video game called Adventure. This game paved the way for other role-playing games such as Dragon Age Origins, Fable, Mass Effect. It paved the way so other role-playing games, which are games where you play as a character and go throughout the story, was able to be created. In 1977, Atari released a system called Video Computer System, which you would better know it as Atari 2600, I mean. It featured interchangeable cartridges, the games were in color, and you could decide what games you wanted to play or choose the difficulty level. Nowadays, you can play multiple different games, and if we fast forward to 2015, consoles are able to detect your movement. The first game console to detect your movement was the Wii, which you had a nunchuck and a remote, and that required movement, and it brought a lot of differences versus previously you just sat on your couch with a controller. And now you can move around with the Xbox Kinect, play Zumba, or anything like that. And PlayStation 4, which recently came out about a year ago, you are now able to hold a controller and during certain cutscenes like the Until Dawn scene where you cannot move because the Wendigos in the game will detect you if you move and kill you. And now you can also play with people all around the world for a small fee. If you pay for Xbox Gold or if you pay for PlayStation Live, or you can even download Steam on your computer, which is a free program which allows you to play video games online or offline depending on the game. And video games have been around for so many years, and just in the past 10 years, it has changed immensely. It will be quite interesting to see how different society changes and how our technology will change this form of entertainment. I would like to thank you all for coming here today, and I hope you have a great day.